like I see something like online passes, which are something that do not benefit the user who actually gets the online pass, even if you're getting it for free. Like, this is not bonus content, no matter how much they trick you into thinking it is. This is content that was like, it's not like
you already paid for it.
Yeah, like it's not like they're like, oh, this was going to be DLC that came out months later, but like, oh, we finished it just in time, so it's coming out on the same day of the game, and oh, we'll just give it to you for free for buying the game. No, that's not how this worked. They planned this out from the get go. I mean, Jim Sterling was already playing Kingdoms of Amalur for a review and everything, and he mentioned the fact that like the DLC area that you get is already on the disc. He already can go there. It's just the quest itself isn't available. But like, I'm betting when this it's not actually called an online pass because there's no online in this game, but it's equivalent of the online pass that's for this game. I bet you the entire download is going to be like 200 kilobytes. It's going to be one of those bullshit things. And right now they're calling this bullshit with their press release. They're saying like, oh, this was never at any point on the disc. It's not cut off from the disc. Like, not only does that seem like complete bullshit from what has actually been seen in the game, but there's also the element of just, who cares if it was actually physically on the disc? That's just like a cop-out statement, when in reality it's like you clearly planned this alongside the release date. It was designed to come out on the same day as the rest of the game. You just specifically decided to cut this part out so that you could basically use it to punish a portion of your population. Because these people get it for free, and all these other people, like it's specifically designed. The whole point of this entire process is to say, used game market, secondhand market, whatever. We're punishing you by not letting you have this. You have to pay separately to get access to the content that everyone else has.
It always reminds me of that picture I saw where it was the idea of DLC was basically, hey, we can now get away with charging you $60 to release a half-made game, and then charge you money to add more pieces to the puzzle that isn't complete that you bought. It's just like it'd basically be if you bought a sandwich and you have to pay for you pay $60 for bread, and you have to keep paying $10 for pieces that go on the bread.
And the whole concept is just unacceptable because
I just want a fucking sandwich.
Like
Give me the whole fucking sandwich.
Single, like aside from the food example you just brought up, every other industry in the world that puts out like physical products, there is a secondhand market for every single one of those industries. It's not like video games are special in some way. It's like, we get to abuse this market because it's technically possible, so let's do it. It's like, you assholes, no. And then it's so frustrating to go on like a website like True Achievements or any forum really where people are actively defending this practice even though they benefited from it in no way whatsoever.
What do you mean, like defending it? Like saying that it's fine that they get charged massive amounts for DLC?
There's all these people all over the place that are in favor of online passes, and they act like you're an idiot for thinking that they're a bad thing. And it's like, can you like stop just like blindly swallowing all of the press releases?
I'm curious. So I want to know how many people would be okay with it. Say, for instance, if Activision fucked up and they came with an online pass for Modern Warfare 3, and you had to put in one to play multiplayer. What if they fucked up and didn't print? And some of their copies, like half their copies, didn't come with the online pass. Just didn't come with
one, and it's feasible.
How pissed would people be when they load up their game? It's totally feasible
too, because my copy of Mass Effect 2, when at release, it had 2 Cerberus Network passes.
Does it really?
No, mine did. This was 2 years ago. I gave it away already. But I mean, like think about it, like, does that mean that someone else didn't have one? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so could you imagine if half the population who bought Modern Warfare weren't able to get on multiplayer because it says you need an online pass, but you didn't have the online pass because they forgot to print them? How many people do you think would be like, this is bullshit, stop online passes forever? Because it doesn't affect these people. They go and buy it and they go, well, I don't buy used games, so I don't really care about online passes. They're fine. I don't see what the problem is.
I hate this whole, like, it's not my problem mentality that people have. It's like, I'm not asking you to fucking like make a stand and do some fucking like boycott on the internet that doesn't ever work. I'm just saying, like, acknowledge that this is a problem, for Christ's sake. Stop fucking pretending that it's not.
You're just basically asking someone to point at, like, this is a fire, right? And they're like, no, I don't see it as a fire. It's a fucking fire. Just say it's fire. That's all I'm asking you. I'm not asking you to fight the fire. I'm asking you to acknowledge it is fire that is burning right now. And it's like, no, I won't do it.
Or like, I'm not asking you to like actively go against all forms of climate change and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, acknowledge that this car is releasing smog right now. Look at it. It's right there. It's like, you want to breathe it in? Come on.
It has to come to a point
acknowledge this shit.
Like, when does it become affecting the person? Like, does it affect them when it comes to a point like, oh, your code doesn't work? And they go like, what's going on? I bought this game and it came with an online pass, it didn't work. How much? I mean, like, what? Like,
and what people don't realize is that, these are businesses. They want to profit. So that means that they're going to keep finding things that they can get away with.
Could you get away with that?
What?
Could you get away with that? Saying that your online pass didn't work when you bought it?
I have no idea.
I want to try that.
But I'm just saying, like, these companies.
I want to try calling tech support.
These companies are going to find ways to make money, and as soon as they find out that this thing works, they're going to keep it, and they're going to come up with another thing on top of that. So this generation, our games went up $10 for every single game, regardless of whether or not they deserved it. Even to the point where, like, at the beginning of the generation, there's all these EA sports games that have fewer features and actually look kind of worse than their previous generation counterparts, but they cost $10 more just because they were on this set of consoles.
Yeah.
You remember that? Then there's this shit where every single game has DLC now. It's not like Oblivion, which is the one that started this shit on consoles, where it's like, oh yeah, we're fucking Bethesda. It's like, we made this game, it was really successful. We're gonna make this massive expansion like several months later, and everyone's gonna love it. No, it's like this DLC is planned from the moment this game's even designed. It's like they specifically are like, this is all the content that our game's ever gonna have. And then they choose things from that list to release later for DLC. Like, that's how it works now.
And
that's not how
they even come up with specific DLC for certain companies.
Yeah, most of these games announce DLC before it even comes out. And then you have games like Resident Evil 5 where the DLC was already on the disc because it was the multiplayer, but you had to pay like $5 to unlock it. It's like, they will just keep going. They'll keep finding things that they can get away with until people stop supporting it. And online pass is just sort of like the next thing. And like paying $5 more for Call of Duty games in the UK, that's just the next thing. Like, people just keep coming up with stuff like that, and it pisses me off. And actually, on the issue of what you talked about before, like online passes and Call of Duty and stuff like that,
yeah,
I know that specifically Call of Duty will not have online passes ever because they're not fucking retarded, because they understand that their games keep having bigger and bigger opening weeks every single year. And that's because the used game market exists. Because all these people are getting secondhand experiences of their game, and they become fans, and then the next year they're there on opening day. Like, this is how a used game works. All this concept that, the developers never seen a dime of the used game market, so it's really destroying them. It's like, no, that's how you create fans, by gouging into that set of people who are on the fence, who are not ready yet to buy, like, the $60 game, but they find some other way to experience that game. And then when the next one comes out, they're there day one, like, oh my god.
Does that count for DVD sales then? Like, if I showed you a DVD, does that mean that I screwed out the DVD company because I showed it to you without you having to buy it?
It's the same absurd.
Is it illegal for me to show you a DVD?
It's the same totally absurd concept, basically. Showing people your games is totally illegal, and you should have to pay extra to be able to watch it. Otherwise, the DVD just ends at like the 80% mark.
Yeah,
because you didn't pay the extra $5 for each additional user.
It's almost kind of like the fact that when we do Let's Plays, it's like people get like, that's copyright content. Yeah, we're giving you advertising.
Like, it's gotten to the absurd level where
we're showing
someone like Carissa could own a copy of like Medal of Honor, and I cannot play that copy of Medal of Honor if I borrow it because EA's a dick.
Really?
Like, yeah, because that game, like, I can't play it online.
Oh,
because if it's actually managed to destroy the act of just simply borrowing somene's game.
You want to know how I got around this? And it's terrible, but it's the only way that I could stick it to them.
Steal their Xbox.
No. I would pirate the game for PC because my PC can run the game at high settings. For Mass Effect. I was going to buy Mass Effect 2, and then they said they had a Cerberus network. I said, well, what does that mean? They said, well, that means you have to put in a code, and that means you have to pay for DLC later. And I said, well, here's two things I'm not going to do. I'm not putting in a code, and I'm not buying DLC.
And so that also brings up the issue of DRM, though, where like they make it really difficult for regular people just to manage their own copy of the game.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's just going to pirate the game, which is what the DRM supposedly meant to combat against, it's really fucking easy to still do everything you want with the game. Like, it does absolutely nothing to do anything to the people that it's supposedly against, but it inconveniences every single person who buys the game legitimately.
Like, I had no problem playing BioShock to Mass Effect to a bunch of other games by pirating them.
Like,
why? Because it's easy.
How many hours
game.
Throughout the entire world, or even years, do you think have been wasted collectively just by the act of having to type in online passcodes?
I don't know, because I don't do it. If anything, most of the time, if anything comes in an online passcode, I either don't type it in because I don't need it, or I just steal the game and play it. And you know what? I will say that. I will actively say, I pirate games because people put DRM on it, and because I'm not going to pay for DLC. That's like, I'm not going to pay $5 for a gun. Fuck you. Fuck you in the ass. I'm not going to pay $5 for a special... Like, I loaded up the Cerberus network for Mass Effect 2 on PC when I hacked it, and they had
when you talk about stupid DLC, it's actually something that brought up recently I've been talking about this lately, is that every single fighting games have like no content. They have a cast of characters.
They have costumes.
Yeah, like they have a cast of characters that are just little 3D models whose move sets have been mostly recycled from the previous game, aside from like 3 new characters there usually is.
Oh my god.
There's a series of tiny 3-dimensional environments to fight in that are usually like a square. And then they have the nerve to charge like a total of like $20 throughout all these different like costume packs and music packs. It's like, what the fuck nerve do you have to not include this content in the disc on the first place, and then you charge $60 for it?
You're just charging for it.
Like, it's gotten to a point where
I highly doubt that
if you buy a brand new $60 game, it has the exact same amount of value as one of those $10 games you could buy on Xbox Live Arcade when it comes to these fighting games, because they have the same amount of content. But these other ones that they charge more for just because they can, and then they'll just keep adding DLC because people will buy it because they're stupid.
You know, I'm actually curious about you know how they have those games on demand?
Yeah.
Like, kind of like Steam.
The ones that like really fail at matching any sort of realistic price because they don't never change.
If every game, if the next generation of consoles is only cloud gaming, you can only download. There's no discs.
They would have to make more
would they have to lower the price for that?
Well, I'm saying because they'd have to have a more of a fluid Steam sort of approach at pricing in order to keep the sales going. Like right now, games on demand can get away with being kind of stupid and like really non-functional, and having like $60 games from 3 years ago is because it's not their primary form of selling. Like that's the only way that's even possible.
If that's the only way you can sell, like it's only by cloud, do you think they'll still be $60 and get away with it just because we can look at them and go, but you don't have to pay to make the game on discs anymore. You have half of your budget cut because
there's literally no distribution process.
There's no distribution process. It's all on the internet.
You can even take care of the advertising within the console.
And so it's like so I want to know, like, does that mean in the next generation if there was only like if it was only
like
Steam
platform, when you have a store that's being visited constantly by people all the time, you basically don't even have to market your game anymore. Like a game like Cube, I don't remember seeing an advertisement for it, but everyone that uses Steam seems to know about the game, and a lot of them have already bought it just because it's there. Like it's there.
You know, and it baffles me that no one has ever grabbed the idea that Steam has a good thing going.
And here's the most brilliant thing about Steam, especially in this world of like online passes and all these different and DRM and all these things, where like their solution for having any sort of problem is to punish either all or a portion of their customer base, which is like the dumbest thing ever. It's like they're basically saying like, no, you don't deserve this content because you're not the right kind of fan. You're not a big enough fan, or you're not legitimate in some way. Yeah. Steam's motivation is positive. Instead of punishing people for stuff, they award people. They give you direct motivation. Hey, you know how games always do really well in their opening week, and that's when you want to make all your sales? Well, we're just going to cut all of our games' prices by 10% on their opening week. You should buy them now while they're still cheaper. And that works! That's a motivation that is positive and is good for your gamers, and no one can really complain about unless they're stupid. When you have this used game market here, it applies to both sides of the transaction, both sides of an ownership of a game.
Yeah.
The fact that you can sell any game you ever own for a portion of the money back, and the fact that you can pick something up for cheaper, those two things eat away at both sides of a game's cost. And as a result, the game it kind of like increases the fluidity of the entire market, the rate at which games move around.
Yeah.
More people are experiencing more games at a faster rate, which increases your chance of becoming a fan of something, which increases the potential profits in the future of that series.
That's weird.
And so it's almost like free marketing.
That's
all these people who otherwise might not ever touch your game, pick it up on a whim because they know they can go back on the deal anyway if they want to, accidentally become fans.
And you know what? I'll say
that's how I learned what Dynasty Warriors was. I've bought every Dynasty Warriors game now for like a decade.
This is I don't understand how people have such a broad...
On your earlier mention though of like just how awesome Minecraft is and stuff like that. That's something that I also think about when people do online passes. I'm like, if you have an online pass, you're kind of inferring automatically that people are going to be constantly trading your game away. How about you make a game people actually want to keep on their shelves? Because you know what? I haven't fucking sold my Mass Effect games or my Dragon Age games. Those are fucking awesome, and I'm keeping them. How about you make a game that I want to keep, and then I won't sell it, and it won't feed the used market that you hate so much?
Yeah, I haven't sold my Minecraft
game yet. That's obviously not what they're... Like Kingdoms of Amalur, that's clearly not their intention, because they're making this online patch, obviously, to take care of the used game issue instead of just making a game that people want to keep. And we played the game. It's broken as fuck. It's generic. It seems just like several other games.
Mostly Fable.
And not only is it badly made and ugly, and in general, like everything about it seemed like the interface seemed outdated, like it was from a previous generation where menus had to be way bigger than they are now. Like the animations are old clunky.
But that was a demo.
The graphics were freaking the fuck out. There's an online pass, skeevy shit like that, and on top of all this, they have they're advertising the fuck out of it. They have it so they have this one cross promotion things where like, oh, you want to play the Mass Effect 3 demo? You should play Kingdoms of Amalur demo in order to unlock stuff for Mass Effect 3 because they're like trying to trick people into like exposing it more and more. And on top of this, there's a $200 special edition for this game that you can buy.
So wait,
even though it doesn't have fans yet because it's never existed before, it has a $200 special edition you can buy. Because all they care about is it's marketing this thing in as many ways as possible, telling you that it's a big deal, and basically making it a hit rather than a good game.
Wait a second. So I don't actually have to buy the game to get the Mass Effect stuff, right?
No, you have to play the demo.
That's it? Just play the demo?
But just the idea that they're promoting it so hard,
okay,
like
good.
there's so many levels of promotion going on here about just getting the game sold, but then when you play the demo and it's this rotten piece of shit where nothing works properly and the game just freezes at random and heads vanish and shit like that, and you're gonna like do the sob story about how your developers need money and the big bad used market's gonna destroy it. It's like, how about you make a competent game that I want to buy and keep rather than trying to trick people into like punishing people for being even interested in your new IP. Well, like this idea, like, oh, it's a brand new IP. Everyone who buys this game is taking a risk because they have no previous experience on which to base their this experience on, unless they've like played the shit out of the demo or something.
Yeah.
If they punish used gamers by hiding content from them, they're saying like, "Fuck you! How dare you have the balls to even show any interest in our game? Fuck you! Go play Mass Effect."
I mean, that's what I planned on doing.
I know.
I just wanted to play the demo.
That's exactly
so I
what I think.
Shit.
Like, I played the demo that's broken. I'm thinking like, and you're gonna punish me for showing any interest in your game, even just because if I choose to buy it secondhand in some way, I'll just not play your game then. Have fun, with whatever's left of your fan base.
Funny enough, it's like to me the way I look at it, it seems like almost every medium is heading this way.